Welcome to the Economic Report. It's Brian checking in here, and it is a Thursday morning, July 24th. Glad to have you all here. And a cup of coffee to one and all. Once again, we cover how DC politics, how Wall Street economics hit people on Main Street, and of course, we love to do this cast. And folks, I got to tell you, man, it's been really, really exciting. I want to thank all of you that have been subscribing. We're well over 250 subs, which is huge. And not that we are constantly looking for new subs, but we do appreciate them. And of course, when you subscribe, you send the the Google algorithm, the YouTube algorithm, a very, very powerful message like you like what you hear. Once again, when you hit like, you're also saying you like what you hear. And most of all, when you're chatting, you say you like what you hear. But we had a record performance of about 450 people at our Tuesday live. So I really wanted to thank you for that. You guys are amazing. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get started because there's so many great things to cover today. And of course, if you look at my thumbnail, the thumbnail started off really talking about Canada and the tariffs here. And maybe it's a phenomenal place to start off here. Because we have a looming trade deadline between both the United States and Canada. And of course, I think in his heart of hearts, Mark Carney wishes he wasn't having to deal with some of this nonsense with trade talks and tariffs. And of course, we do have Trump, who's an America First type of guy, and of course, maybe agitating the situation a little bit, maybe a lot. Some of the rhetoric's really not necessarily appreciated, nor do we really want to hear some of it. But of course, I had a chance to do a little bit more research in preparation for this cast today, and so maybe I could share a couple of insights with you. So I started looking maybe not necessarily at Trump, but some of the people surrounding Trump, and that gave me some really, really powerful insights. And so maybe I could share one with you. I started paying closer attention to the people who actually surround Trump, right? What are they saying? What do they think? What do they see that people like us just don't see, right? So I'm looking at his inner circle, and sure enough, the person I paid the attention to was Scott Bessent, who is the Secretary of Treasury, and number two, Howard Lutnick, who is the Secretary of Commerce. So I listened to what they had to say, and they had to say, all of a sudden, hey, welcome, glad to see you, Mackenzie. And this is a good, no, I'm sorry, Mackenzie. That's why I need my glasses. Please forgive me. Mesroy, how are you today? I know I mispronounced that, so please forgive me. And if you want to do a phonetical presentation for that, I would appreciate it. Boy, I never used to have to wear glasses until, COVID was the big game changer, right? So you're reading more and more and spending more time on screen. So and what's up to you? Spur of the moment, glad to have you here. It's great to see you here once again on the cast as well. My name is Brian at the Economic Report, and I know a number of you are coming back and joining me because you're subscribed and you get a notification that I'm here. I'm from Iran. Oh, well, welcome from Iran. Glad to have you here, pal. Amazing people and an amazing culture over in Iran. So we will go ahead and make sure we share that thought here, because I think sometimes the way politics work, there's always some bad press about somebody, about something. So I will throw that out there to you. With that, we're going to go ahead and continue our cast because we're talking about relations between the United States and Canada. And I want to make sure, who do we have here? Christian Bridges, welcome. Glad to have you here. Make sure you are liked and subscribed here because I can present this and you get a notification every time I'm going live. And I'm going to go live tomorrow, at least that's what the hope is. DeWitt Marta Girl, glad to have you here as well, and a hello to you. And of course, well, there we go. So with that, we're going to go ahead and continue with the relationships between the United States and Canada, because there was a ton of people here that had some very, very powerful thoughts here. And of course, you really can't neglect the relationship that the United States and Canada have, in part because it's such a powerful, and I do mean a powerful, powerful thing that we've been experiencing for the past, well, since maybe even colonial times, right? So we've had a nice boundary, and has there been some spats? Oh, sure, there was spats during the French and Indian War, obviously, and spats again during the American Revolution, and of course, maybe an additional spat in the War of 1812. But beyond that, we've had really, really powerful relationships between the two countries. So we'll throw that out there to you. Grissom, glad to have you here. Welcome to the Economic Report. You are awesome. Thank you for the likes and the subscribes. We appreciate that. So when we talk relations between the United States and Canada, you don't have to pay too much attention to the news headlines, because they really do tell a powerful story. And so, you take a look at, well, hey, look at the relationships between India and Pakistan. There are two nuclear powers pointing missiles at each other, and that's never a bad, a good thing. You go ahead and take a look at Cambodia and Laos right now. Once again, fussing with each other, so that's not necessarily a good thing either. And of course, hey, North Korea and basically anybody that they're surrounded. So I'm going to share that with you, because it's really, really important that we understand those are other trouble spots throughout the world. And so when we are talking about relations in the United States and Canada, we're like super lucky, and we're super fortunate to have good relationships, and that's something you really can't take for granted. And with that, may have a technical difficulty. We will find out here very, very soon. By the way, if you are not liked and subscribed, go ahead and do so I can make sure I'm delivering to you right into your inbox. The next item of business I want to make sure that we're doing is, because I do respond at least to thoughtful comments, and folks, there's just some things that I've got to completely, go ahead and, with that, I will go ahead and regard, and maybe in some cases disregard things, because, well, they have to be done. And so with that, we can go on to the next item of business, because I did say that we were going to be talking about some really, really important things here, including very much the commodities market and the commonalities between the United States and our relationships with Canada. And of course, with that, we're going ahead and saying that the common culture between the United States and Canada, common language between the United States and Canada, well, although Americans aren't really good at speaking French, but most of Canada is English speaking. Of course, government systems, of course, a democracy, right? Now, of course, when it comes to economics, there's always something a little bit different here. And so by very nature, our relationships have really been based on needs and wants of both countries. And so we want to make sure that we're not completely ignoring those things, because they're critical. Every country needs to look out for the best interests of its people. And with that, we'd also have to say that making sure that we have countries that are developing and prospering are good for its people, and good for the government, of course, and good for peaceful relationships. So I wanted to make sure that we are mentioning those things as well. And finally, some of the differences and some of the other concerns. With that, hey, if there should be somebody here, go ahead and invite them. You won't hurt my feelings. You're actually allowed to invite other people to these YouTube lives, because they are good for everybody. And I do mean everybody about the subject. So we're going to go ahead and continue talking about a couple of other issues here, including some things about Canada that maybe is causing a couple sticking points here. Of course, we know that Trump's rhetoric isn't good, and that's not necessarily a good thing, from his talk of tariffs to his talk about things of making Canada the 51st state. Never necessarily a good thing. But I will also throw out to you that, well, there's also some stuff Canada's doing, and I want you to be aware of. And one of those things would happen to be the fact that, well, Canada has been courting the EU banking system. Mark Carney himself is a banker by trade, so he understands economics better than anybody else. And with that, there's also another issue there to take into consideration, of course, which is the ongoing strength of the U.S. dollar. And that is really, really a big piece of the puzzle that I think we don't completely see and maybe don't completely understand. But with Mark Carney being the global banker, he probably entertains the idea of, well, what is the United States doing to like respect every other country that is on the U.S. dollar exchange? And maybe equally as important, are we going ahead and making sure, excuse me, are we making sure that the U.S. dollar is legitimate, right? I gotta tell you that since 2019, the U.S. dollar has lost like 20% of its buying power. So a dollar printed in 2019 has 80% of its buying power today in 2025. So that's something to take into consideration. And I'm sharing that with you because, of course, that is something to take into consideration. Some of you have asked other questions here, and of course, those other questions deal specifically with things like the markets, and we do touch on markets here during our live sessions. And right now, we have gold down about 0.5%. Down to 33.66, still up about 1% from last week. Not too bad at all. And of course, that means it's down about 19 bucks per ounce today. Not the end of the world. Of course, we understand that nothing's ever a straight trajectory up nor a straight trajectory down. But that is one thing to consider. Let's go ahead and take a quick pivot and chalk silver prices. Hey, really working right in connection with gold prices, down about 0.54 of a situation as well. So we're talking about down 21 cents as of right now. Let's go ahead and throw out Bitcoin, because that has been a real interesting one to follow here. Bitcoin trading at $118 per coin. So that is about down about 0.5%. And of course, inside there, we could probably do a quick look-see at Ethereum, which is ETH. It's about 0.22 today, so it's not necessarily a bad place to be here as well. So up about $8 per coin. Last one we'll check out when it comes to cryptos is Solana. And once again, for a quick disclosure, I do have a very slight position inside of Solana. And so the Solana price, let's take a look here. It's been moving up, it's been moving down, and today, it's down. I was teetering right around $200 earlier this week, but sold off a little bit. But I'm pretty sure that it's going to continue to make its move because it's been pretty rock solid. Beyond that, I want to remind you, this has been the Economic Report, and we, of course, we're really exploring the August 1st deadline between Trump and Carney, of course, when trade relations are supposed to go a little bit south if there isn't a relationship worked out and an agreement made. What I will say to you is this, and it's extremely important. we need to make sure that we're really exploring a couple of important pieces of this. And of course, uh, the research that that was revealed yesterday about Howard Letnick and Scott Bessent, they kind of explained and framed Donald Trump as a guy who's thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead of everybody else. So that's kind of an important place to be. Roberto, glad to have you here. Uh, and with that, you want to make sure that you're really being super thoughtful about how these negotiations go, like out in public, and what's really happening behind the scenes. Lutnick specifically said that that Trump was negotiating out in public with the Japanese, and behind these scenes, wound up securing a pretty good deal for both Japan and the United States. And of course, Japan's got a funny market that we don't quite completely understand. So that's one thing to take into consideration. But the other piece of that equation is that now that the negotiations have taken place, Japan has already pledged like $500 billion in investments inside of the United States. And of course, with that, I think it's a very, very powerful move. And of course, Trump was also able to, or his people were also able to secure food. In other words, selling American rice into China. So that's one thing to take into consideration. The next thing is equally as important, and of course, that would be Scott Bessent really talking about how Trump kind of works. And part of that equation, of course, is super powerful in that he understands the public and the private Trump, and understands that the people are working behind the scenes on things like monetary policy, etc. So, and of course, strengthening the U.S. dollar, and of course, working the rails of some of the other things that exist out there, which includes payment systems, the U.S., or should we say, Sage, how are you? Welcome to the economic report. But getting back to the fact that here we are, we're taking a look at maybe the dollar as a global reserve currency. We want to make sure that we're completely aware of that as well. Victor, welcome back. The Sage always doing well, thank you. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to the Economic Report. I apologize for the technical difficulty. We had a problem with our router here and switched over to the other way to connect to the net. And of course, this is because we need something a little bit, just a little bit more consistent here, but you are wonderful. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch up with you later. Thank you for joining me for the Economic Report. Have a great day, and don't forget, the biggest battle you fight is the one between your ears. That controls everything else you do, your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude. Have a great day.